Hello and welcome to the Fanatics of Film, and thanks so much for joining us. My name is Ben.
I'm Joe. We're going to be discussing a little Better Call Saul for y'all.
Better Call Darth
That
Maul.
was terrible.
And this is the latest episode of Better Call Darth Maul.
Better Call Darth Maul or Better Call Saul? It's all good, y'all. It's all good, y'all. That's my karaoke name, by the way. It's all good, y'all. Had it for years, well before this show. I'm just saying. People, but I can do a mean Neil Diamond, so. Sweet Caroline, bum, bum, bum. Good times never felt so good.
Coushatta?
Coushatta?
Not to be confused with Calcutta.
No, that's a totally different ballgame.
And so Coushatta, that's when you have to slaughter a cow, you Coushatta.
Coushatta. I thought it was like martial arts for cows. Like, Coushatta. Wow.
Coushatta. So much for joining us here, and as usual, each episode in this season tends to amaze me. The things that jump out really quickly, of course, to me, are the sudden uptick in Saul's and Jimmy's and Kim's downward spiral relationship.
Talking about Better Call Saul, episode 408, Coushatta. It's in Louisiana, but it's also a form of martial arts for cows.
Yes.
Coushatta. It's a lethal technique using. No,
and that's what ended up being the entire episode. Was just
martial arts for cows.
Yeah.
Obviously, what was going on with Kim and Jimmy was interesting, but so was what was going on with Mike and what's the German gentleman's name? Warner. Dana?
Yeah, he actually really came to life in this episode. His relationship between him and Mike.
Yeah.
But the other thing that stood out to me, and I finally remembered it. The other thing that stood out to me was the hilarious moment that you realize how deep their plan went.
Yeah.
And how hilarious it was that the DA, she's a district attorney, how far she was taking this. She's like, okay, we're gonna
assistant district attorney.
Okay,
but still,
an ADA.
No, she's calling Kim's bluff this whole time.
That was so funny.
So they did this whole elaborate thing with the letters and the phones, and Jimmy getting his old film crew back that he shot the commercials with in the first season.
So are we gonna sit here the rest of the day?
Yeah, you're paid for the day. You leave when I say you leave. That was a good episode. I was really, especially Kim's reaction to actually pulling it off, surprising.
And showing up there going, I want to do it again. It turns her on. The crime thing turns her on. I mean, it's something that obviously, I was not expecting that at all. I was not expecting her at all. Because we've seen her pretty much be completely, continuously disappointed with Saul, but now she's finding ground. They're finding common ground in this. They're finally... Saul reeled her into it, and he felt guilt, and she's just like, let's do it again.
Yeah, I kind of noticed when she's speaking with the Mesa Verde clients, and she's kind of off on her own. I mean, she's not completely lost. She's able to jump in and tackle the subject they're talking about, but you could just tell right in that moment that there's a change in what's going on in her head, and that I was pretty much thinking, I think she's kind of bored with Mesa Verde, and even bored with... kind of playing by the system, and her and Jimmy, they risked everything. As Jimmy points out, she could have been disbarred, kicked out of the law firm. He
lays down the law for all the things that they could have caught for. He knew exactly all the laws that they were breaking.
Yeah, and it turned her on, and she wants to do it again. That was probably the finest moment of the episode for me.
Yeah.
But and there were a lot of good moments in this episode. Nacho's back. I haven't seen him for a while, but I mean, it's 9 months later. since we last saw him. He's healed up pretty good. He's back working for the Salamancos, doing his thing.
Speaking of the 9 months, we have to do a quick shout out. Thanks so much to Richard Suttles.
Yeah.
For pointing out that you totally called it, man. You were totally right in that. We were wrong on the timeline. So it's 9 months. This is 9 months later now. The montage from the previous episode was only 9 months.
So thanks for pointing that out in the timeline, because I got a little confused. But
Richard Suttles knows his stuff. He knows what he's talking about. This guy.
Yeah.
So, and then of course there's AAF Janet had some cool remarks about that. AAF Janet. They
AAF.
Hey, what's up, AAF? They had a really cool. They have actually a couple of cool Better Call Saul videos on there. What was one of them?
One of our questions was, who was he next? Steven Gomez or Declan? Declan. I wanted to say Declan. I don't know why. But what's Kim doing? Making protest signs for Huel?
That was a great guess. Like the minute I read that, I was like, yeah, that's probably what she's doing.
Very close. And instead, they ended up making postcards. That once Jimmy's hands started giving way, he started hiring people, paying people on the bus to write and then critiquing them. That was a good moment, because okay, real quick. One of the reasons why I love Breaking Bad and Better Call Saul, and really good television shows like this, as well as films, is when they sort of throw you in the middle of a story. Last week, Kim bought all that stuff. She told Jimmy, whatever you're planning, don't do it. We had no idea where that was going. And this week, it doesn't bother to necessarily explain it in exposition. It just drops you into the middle of their plan. Right. And then slowly it unfolds. And I love that, because it kind of keeps you guessing.
Having a guessing game right at the beginning of the episode. And you and I both discussed, do you have any idea what they're doing? And we didn't. That's the
only thing I could think of is that it was tied to whatever Kim was thinking in the previous episode. It had to be something to do with helping Jimmy to make sure Huel doesn't go to jail. But the way it wound up, like the whole scene where, she sends Jimmy on the bus. He's going through, I guess, all the way to Louisiana from New Orleans, and getting people to write these postcards and setting up this whole extremely elaborate but realistic shakedown. I don't know what you would describe it as, but it was really awesome. So no, they weren't protest signs, but very close, postcards. And then the last question she had was, will Gus kill the Germans, do you think?
And just a real quick thing to point out real quick about those postcards and things. I didn't know. We knew that he was writing the letters. We knew that they were he was paying all these the bus passengers, paying them off and to help him with his thing. But we don't get to see that until the reaction on the judge's face.
Yeah, Ethan Phillips.
His reaction. Yeah,
he was so good in this episode. Some of that comic timing. Ethan Phillips used to play Neelix on Star Trek Voyager, but before that, he was on Benson.
Yeah.
So he did a lot of
I remember that.
So he was on Benson with Rene Auberjonois, who would be Odo on Deep Space Nine. So a couple of Benson people also became Star Trek people, but that's another story. But no, his performance was great. He's just like, who are we prosecuting here? Santa Claus?
He's just like, you two work it out. You guys fix this. And it's great. It's great. I just found it so funny how she took it to the next level, and she was really ready to fight this thing and makes all these phone calls. It was just funny to see that. It seems like a small time case, but I couldn't help but think of the things we do for Huel. The things we do for Huel. Anyway.
And what they did on the website with the donations.
That's right.
And the photos of Huel with the choir and the doing community service, like he's just this model citizen.
That was the big standout. Clever. The big standout of this episode was Bob Odenkirk's Southern gentleman pastor character that he developed there. That was really
he's
great.
Done characters like that on Mr. Show with Bob and David, so I don't think it was too much of a stretch for him, but that's what I like. That's why I was originally drawn to Saul, is because it's Bob Odenkirk, and he comes from comedy. And I always love somebody who comes from comedy who can do good drama.
Yeah.
It's always a surprise. And when they do, and they kind of go back to their comedy formula, it's a little disappointing. And so I'm glad that Bob Odenkirk has been, since Breaking Bad, he did Nebraska, and now Better Call Saul, and he's just kind of keeping that dramatic level going. And then when he's in bed with Kim, and he's doing the voice again.
That's right. Yeah, he's like, "Want to do it again?" It's just like you think they're talking about sexual positions, but obviously she just loves the Southern gentleman thing.
Because that was the icing on the cake that fooled.
I was just trying to get that.
That was the icing on the cake that fooled the assistant DA to buckle. And what I love about that too is they spent 2 episodes building up the antagonistic relationship between Kim and the assistant DA, right? Yes. And when she finally breaks, you don't even hear it. You just see Saul looking through the window in the room, and he gets the general idea. And it's like, I really wanted to hear that exchange, but I don't mind the artistic flourish of now it's moved over to Saul, and everything's kind of from his perspective. And Kim comes out of the room, goes walking past him. And they go out the exit, and I'm like thinking, well, that's when they used to go and smoke cigarettes and like make out. They haven't done that in forever. And then it happens.
Yeah, that was a great moment.
That was a cool throwback to the beginning of the series. So it's going to be interesting to see where that relationship goes and the reason why they're not together by Better Call Saul.
I swear, the two, I have not wanted two people I have not wanted a romantic relationship to continue and be successful in a long time in film or television. I haven't seen this type of romance in a long time, and for some reason obviously
you don't watch Brooklyn Nine-Nine. Then,
I obviously don't. I do love Brooklyn Nine-Nine. I'm not caught up. I'm so sorry about that, but honestly, for me, I haven't seen. I know it's like this is crime drama. It's not a romance, but there's a lot of, I don't know. I really want I want them to succeed, even though I know it's going to fail. I know romance. It's sad to see I know that it's going to fail, but yeah, it's.
Then she had a third question. Will Gus kill the Germans? No. I don't know.
Do you remember his name? The guy who loses it at the. We always forget his name.
Kia?
Is it Kia? I can't remember his name.
The wild card amongst the Germans.
Yes, the one guy who Mike has an eye on, or at least he knows that he's going to be the one who's trouble. So.
Gets kicked out of the strip club for being a jackass, and I don't know. I wouldn't put it past Gus to kill them all, but at the same time, they're working anonymously. They don't work with him directly. They can't really incriminate him. They're going back to their own country. I don't see. It seems to me like it would bring more trouble to kill these men.
Yeah.
Except for the one. I don't think he's going to make, or even if he does make it out, he's not going to make it out without a nice ass whooping.
I can see him becoming a major problem in the sense, because he's still got a hot head. Mike's laying down the law, but he's still got a hot head. He's still a young 20. We decided he's 28 to 30, somewhere in that neighborhood, and he's still got a hot head on his shoulders. And so as a result, I think that there's going to be a point where he's going to say, saying, I'll, kind of not necessarily blackmail, but like, I know what's going on here, and I can basically shut all of this down,
right?
If by not shutting up, basically. So I could see him getting smoked. I could see Mike starting to kind of clamp down crack the whip. But I think Gus might be the one who does. I think Gus needs to, to evoke a little bit of fear in our audience. We need to see Gus wipe somebody out again. I don't know. What do you think?
Well, that person might be Eduardo Salamanca, who's now shown up at to run the operation.
Yeah.
Now that Don Hector is in, I just like saying that name, Don Hector. Now that he's recovering, but he's never going to be, obviously, if you've seen Breaking Bad, you know where that leads. Bing, bing, bing. Oh, he's got the best mean face in that episode.
And the bell tolls hell.
Like, I can't even do this.
He really does. The mean face. It's like it's a pop culture phenomenon. Him hitting that and going, over and over again. It's like it's just such a funny thing.
And then Gus is barely in this episode, but whenever he pops on, it's just whenever Gus is in this thing, I'm just always excited because he's a villain that I love to hate. He's just
his whole face just does this.
Giancarlo Esposito has a great stone face. Like, he can be really, when he smiles and is friendly, he can be completely, what's the word I'm looking for? Disarming, right? Charming. But when he gets that serious face, it's like, even when I met him at one of our cons, and he was kind of serious like that, I was intimidated. Like, should I even be talking to you, or should it just be like, I'm at the soup Nazi rest, you know, like,
right.
One signature, please, and then move on.
And then move the sideways or whatever they do. Yeah.
Maybe he was just tired, but he had that look, and it's intimidating.
Yeah.
Kind of like Mike. Mike is intimidating. He's just intimidating looking, Jonathan Banks. What's funny is Jonathan Banks and Giancarlo Esposito have both been on Community.
Yeah, that's right, yeah. Jonathan Banks has been in, like, everything. It's
dude, he's Axe Cop's dad on Axe Cop. But on Last Week Tonight with John Oliver, earlier this year, they showed an episode that had, or maybe it was last season, but it was about sex ed in schools, and they showed one of those old videos you used to have to watch from like the early 70s, and Jonathan Banks is this teenager in it.
Nice.
And at the end of the video, Jonathan Banks is on the episode in a mock PSA, and he makes fun of that. I thought that was great. Good sense of humor. It's amazing to me too that people didn't realize that. Yeah, he's got a head full of hair, and he gets killed out by John Lithgow in Adventures of Buckaroo Banzai. He's been in so many movies. I love that guy. And for a long time, he was one of those actors where he was reliable, but I didn't know his name.
Yeah, right. Yeah, really character actor, kind of.
Yeah, no, he's total character actor and supporting player. And it took Breaking Bad to actually get him into the public. So sometimes a role can come along that can just do that for you. So
I'm going to go out on a limb and make it kind of a left field prediction. And this is just my. I just thought of this. Do you? Forgive me. What is the name of Mike's new best friend? The best friend the German guy. Who is this?
I think his name's Vanna.
Vanna?
Werner. But they would say Vanna.
Vanna, of course. I love there's that moment. I love that moment where he teaches the kid how to teach Hefeweizen.
Yeah, I'll have one of those Heifer. I can't remember how the kid pronounces it.
I think he actually just calls it a Hefeweizen or something like that. Yeah. Or I think he said Hefeweizen. I think that's what he called it. Yeah.
Hefeweizen.
I think that reminds me of a time when I was having a beer with one of my college professors, and I ordered a Hefeweizen, and he looked at me. He gave me the credit. He's like, Hefeweizen? Why would you ever? Like he didn't say that, but he said Hefeweizen, and he was just like, Hefeweizen? Why?
Hey, I like a good Hefeweizen.
I do too, but anyway, it was a funny moment that it just sticks in my brain. But my prediction is that I think Mike is going to have to kill Werner.
He did make a big mistake in this episode, but I don't think it's worth killing over. He vouched.
I know that. I know. I'm talking about down the line. I think down the line, Werner, Vienna is going to have to. I think he's going to have to.
I hope not. I hope you're not right about that, because it seems like they've got a mutual respect. I wouldn't call it a friendship for sure, because Mike is still the boss and he's playing a dangerous game here, and he has to crack down, and he basically tells him in so many words, when he's saying, ask him, do you understand? Mm-hmm. He's basically, we if that happens again, you're not going to make it out of here. And so again, it's always possible in this show. I just hope not, because I like the guy.
I hope not too. Guy. I don't want to see that either. I actually really enjoyed their closeness this time. I mean, they leave the strip club just so they can be at someplace a down home bar and quiet, and they can enjoy each other's company, which was great. It's a great character development in their friendship. They're starting to become really good friends. Yeah. I'm just saying that, like, if we know this show at all, if we know this show and what it
would be regretful, obviously, but Vanna's papa, he helped build the Sydney Opera House.
That's right.
And in this mythology, and that'd just be terrible. I did like their bonding moment of like, tell me about your papa.
And he's proud of his hair. I mean, being an engineer, or I guess he's an engineer. I mean, he's an engineer, architect. He's very proud of it. He's an artist. He's very proud of it, but he's very mathematical, calculated. He's a brilliant guy, and so he enjoys sharing knowledge with these other college kids who he's talking, where they were having their conversation. And this, of course, having this passion it hurt him. It hurt him. And so, or at least in the sense of, Mike and Gus both going, okay, what's with this guy?
Because I enjoyed the fact that he got the kid to think, and he's like,
yeah.
using your thinking mind, not your drinking mind.
Yeah, exactly.
And I thought that was good.
That was a great moment. Yeah,
I mean, and at first I was like, Mike, why are you so bummed out? And then it's like, oh yeah, okay, he did really mess up. He really was describing the work that they're doing in so many words, without using so many words. But yeah, that was pretty risky on his part.
Think about how much money you're getting paid,
yeah.
what the risk is, and who you're working for. These are the three things that he kind of mentioned here. So
I hope it doesn't happen, but it probably will.
Okay, one more prediction. Who do you think? Let us know in the comments. Who do you think Gus will kill next? Is it someone that we know already? Is it going to be our new
Eduardo? I wonder how long
is it going to be him?
Eduardo Salamanca is going to be around, or if it's going to be Nacho that has to take him out, or if he takes Nacho out. It could go any way right now because this is a total wild card.
It really is.
Character. The whole mood changed when he walks into the restaurant and they've got the mambo music playing.
Yeah.
And he's back there just cooking. He's like, I made this meal for you, try it. It's family recipe. And he's like, oh, you're Salamanca Eduardo, and like, I'm good with numbers. I'm just here to oversee the operations. Then he walks out and sits down next to the guy at the table who collects the money. And it's like, wow, the whole paradigm is shifting, which is probably going to pose a threat for Gus.
Right.
Because Gus is really now, he's the one who's actually in control.
And there's this big rock. Is that what you were just talking about? You're talking about the rock that's in their way. They have to do blasting. This is another thing they have to worry about with the lab.
Yeah.
They're doing with the rock and the blasting. That's
because they have to move the rock that's surrounding the elevator shaft.
Yeah.
So the only way to do it is to blast it out, and that's going to be complicated. Didn't he say it's going to set him like a week back?
I think so.
So there's a few setbacks, and it's already like, as Mike said, they're at the halfway point, but they're still behind schedule. So. And Werner talking about that he's been married for 26 years and it's the longest he's ever been away from his wife. It's so sweet. He's such a nice.
Yeah, I loved his development in this. I really did. I loved his. And just quickly, Nacho, seeing him in this new house, Joe and I were discussing. He could have had this house the whole time, but I think personally that he just barely got this house because we haven't seen him in his house before. But he's got 2 girlfriends. That
I guess,
or whatever, or just he takes care
of.
He's taking care of his girls, and or at least just friends, girls that hang out with him, whatever.
I don't know. They're all like, "Hey, baby, you're home early. Can we make you a meal?" And he's just like, "Here's your drugs. Here's your drugs." And they're like, "You gonna smoke with us?" And he just.
It leads me to believe what's going on. What happened to his dad? Is his dad still alive? I mean, it has been 9 months, and it'll be interesting to see what actually happened to his dad because he pulls out their green cards or whatever it is, their identification cards, and it shows it has his dad there. That was a moment.
He's got that gnarly scar too. So I'm gonna have to go out and say that I think that so far 8 episodes out of the 10 this season, this is one of the best episodes. For me this season, and they've all been good. There hasn't been a filler episode. There isn't a disappointing episode, but this one I think is like a 4-star episode. I think it just hit all the right notes for me.
Yeah, me too. Me too. It continues to surprise me, and I found myself grinning from ear to ear during that whole sequence. When it uncovers their plan with the burner phones, and that was absolutely brilliant and just wonderful. This show continues to surprise us. Again, thanks so much for your input, AAF Janet and Richard Suttles. You guys are incredible to us. Is Richard Suttles, right?
Yes.
Thanks so much for hanging out with us, and thank you for your input. We appreciate it so much, and we appreciate all of you. Thanks to all of our recent subscribers. We just hit over 500. We're at 535 now, which is kind of crazy. We enjoy doing this. We hope that you're enjoying these videos.
Yes, please.
Please give it a like and subscribe if you should so desire. And
if for some reason you don't like it, you don't have to tell anybody. You could just not watch. We're fine with that. Just tell everybody else you like us. So that's good. We appreciate that. And as always, like and subscribe.
Thanks for hanging out with us again. We're the Fanatics of Film. Have a splendid evening. Yeah, there we go.